Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
What episode number is this?
5.
Can you believe this is amazing because we've lasted 5 episodes and we're committing to this. I'm having such a great time doing this podcast with you.
I look forward to it every single week.
Let's give a quick rundown of why we're here. We need to get that needs to get shorter every time. If you haven't heard this podcast before, just go back to episode 1. But can you set the scene again, Matty?
Yep. So I'm a DJ and Jared is a vocalist. So to speak. He was emceeing and I was DJing, and we worked a lot together in some very ordinary clubs, and we had a lot of time to talk about sport, and then we thought we'd do a podcast about it.
Yeah, and the great thing is we separate this into 4 quarters, and halftime is someone tells a nightclub story, and Maddie's got one. If you want to hear last week's why I was basically sitting in intensive care dressed as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, have a listen to that. You can always hit us up on the socials as well, Facebook Best Team Men. Follow us both on Twitter at Fresh Till Death AU. Is that right?
Yep,
that's you.
that's
and I'm at Jared Walsh. Ask anything you like. We are just about talking about Adelaide sport, but also around Australia and around the world as well.
It's good to see you've got your voice back.
Oh my goodness! So can I quickly take you through how the A-League works? So Sunday night in Adelaide, it was the A-League final, elimination final. The Reds taking on Melbourne City, and the last time they played one another, it was a 0-0 draw. And it kind of looked like during that game that both coaches were expecting that, because not many subs were made. There was only a sub made due to injury, and then a couple more were made throughout the game. Because of that, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, in world football, once you go to extra time and then penalties, if you've been subbed off, you can't take your penalty.
Yeah.
So you have to be really strategic. And it took until the 119th minute for Ben Halloran to score that goal, and then... I didn't have a testy pop. The events company that I work for get really excited because I think I'm going to have a testy pop. But it was amazing. It's going to be tough against Perth on Friday. I think Perth will win the A-League title. They're that good. They're that good. They're playing in Perth. They've got consistent strikers in Andy Keogh and Diego Castro.
But a one-off game, anything can happen.
Totally agree. Anything can happen. We're not going to have a grand final back here in Adelaide. So it's either going to be in Melbourne, Sydney or Perth.
Right.
Yeah, it was great. And what I love is that the footy was on at the same time, the worst game in the history of AFL at Adelaide Oval, the Crows and Freo.
At halftime, it was a soccer score.
Yeah.
1-2.
People went to the soccer as well because they had 13,500. So it was really good. And I didn't realise until I started to get a couple of messages, and until I saw on the Best Team Men Facebook page, that I was on broadcast basically every time they cut to Warren Joyce, the coach of Melbourne City.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was going to do the circle for the circle game, but 2 reasons. Reason 1, I thought, no, the broadcast will see that and see that I'm an Adelaide United employee. And I've done it before at an Adelaide United game. Second one, the Christchurch guy who did that massacre, he did it in court and he ruined it.
Yeah, that's done. You
can't do it
again.
No, so yeah, it was an eventful weekend. How was your weekend? Did you play basketball during the week again?
No, last Tuesday.
That's it. One and only game.
No. We play every Tuesday.
Okay, yeah.
So
cool.
I missed last night because we're doing this on a Wednesday night, but I missed last night because I was crook.
Yeah, okay.
But the week before, I finally scored my first points.
Well done, mate.
Thank you. Cheers. Yeah, floodgates have opened, and how
did you celebrate? Actually, can we go into the first quarter and talk about that?
Yeah.
All right, celebrations. I think we had this idea a couple of weeks ago to talk about sporting celebrations because we saw Xavier Dersma from Port Adelaide do what he described as the Reggie Jackson, who used to play for OKC in the NBA, now plays for Detroit. And it was like a Robin Hood kind of thing. I haven't seen something that Robin Hoodish since Mark Williams brought out the shotgun when he was playing for Hawthorn then Essendon.
Did he get told to not do that?
He did. Yeah, and I think he played in that flag in 2008.
He did, yes.
Wow. I love celebrations.
Yep.
And because I am not an athlete, whenever I score a goal, I like to celebrate. But as I've got older, I've got a little bit more mature and I don't celebrate as much. But I used to really celebrate.
Give it heaps.
Like, I would celebrate with the wrestling "You Can't See Me," so I'd shake my hand in front of my face.
Yeah, the John Cena.
I would hold up like my hand like I'd scored a 3-pointer in basketball. But I remember saying this in, I think it was episode 2. I used to do something called the Jizz flick.
Yes, we never got to this.
We never got to this.
No.
So for some reason, it was just a running joke that I would pretend to accumulate some mayo
Say it.
and throw it out.
Right. At the crowd.
Yeah. And there was a game that we played against Seacliff and I scored and we were then up 3-2. And all I can remember is doing it to the crowd and hearing, was that directed at us? So I'm a big celebrator. Are you?
I never planned any because I never knew when I was going to kick a goal.
Yeah.
Mine were always a little bit left of centre because I just let my natural emotions take over.
Okay.
So my arms would be flailing about, going from side to side, and a lot of boys used to take the piss out of me for doing it.
Yeah. Right.
But no, I never went into a game with anything planned, especially not a jizz flick.
It's so bad, isn't it?
Oh, I'd love to see you do it. Not in real life, maybe just on the hockey field.
Yeah, we'll do it in here. There's some good ones, though, floating around. And I think, like, the NBA has a lot of... It's probably NFL which has the most, right? NFL and EPL or world football.
The NFL ones are great. There's a lot of YouTube compilations of the NFL ones. They've... In the last couple of years, a lot of Fortnite-style dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, so they go into that. I like the ones where they get in a group and maybe throw the ball down. They pretend they're, 10-pin bowling or whatever, and they all fall down. And
what was the... I don't even remember what country. Was it Iceland?
An
Icelandic
soccer team?
Yeah,
that's right. And they used to hold the guy up and pretend he was riding a bike, and they'd be riding
Catch
a canoe.
fish.
The fish, he's flopping around on the ground.
Yeah, the ones which fascinate me. So the premeditated ones.
Yep.
So you either have that much confidence or you're that prepared that you're going to score a goal. The guys who wear a T-shirt underneath their playing shirt because they're going to lift it up when they score a goal.
Yeah.
Or when...
See those guys that pull the mask out? There's a guy that pulls
Yes.
like the spider or the wrestling mask out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one wore a Black Panther mask and was it Balotelli?
Yeah.
Who had the phone and did the celebration on Instagram Live.
That's the winner for me. I love that.
But they're that prepared because that means for every game leading up until that, someone was standing behind the goals waiting.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. I mean, when they don't score, you don't know that they've planned it, do you? So they can sort of get away with it. But the Balotelli one, that was... I haven't laughed that hard at a celebration for a while.
Well, my big question is, there's a fine line when it comes to celebrating because if you have a personalised celebration, there has to be a point where you don't do it. Like, you do it when you're 5 goals up and you can't lose the game.
Yeah, you can't.
Surely you can't celebrate if you score a goal and you're 3-2 down.
No.
Or... if you're down by 6 goals and you bring out the Xavier Durs.
Well, actually, you've just triggered a memory. Guy by the name of Tyrone Vickery, a very maligned player for Richmond and Hawthorn.
Yeah.
My first memory of him was, I think it was NAB Cup when he was coming through early days, and they were playing a NAB Cup game. For Richmond, they were about 10 goals down. They were getting flogged. And he took a mark about 55 out, and he got a 50-minute penalty, which put him in the goal square. Oh. He went in and he kicked it, and he gave it a double fist pump to the crowd.
Yeah.
And I thought,
you can't do that.
I was like, no, mate, that's probably not on.
All right, if you're going to see any local sport this weekend, keep an eye out on the celebrations because local sport is the one we want to hear of them because lots of people would have their local sport celebrations.
The one I wish I did was when I kicked a goal, maybe jump the fence and clap myself.
That is a good one.
Have you seen that one?
I did. Yeah, someone did that in Sandful Fast Footy last year.
That's right, they did too.
Yeah, which was good. I did one where I actually scored a cracker goal in hockey once, and we're playing against Adelaide Uni at Port Adelaide, and I was on the bench for the Premier League, and I don't score goals in the Premier League, so I was on the bench. We were 3-3 at that stage, and I came on. And for the last couple of minutes, and I got the ball and I scored a good goal.
The winner?
I threw my stick. It was the winner. I threw my stick down and started beating my chest. And I think because I love American sport so much, I'm in my head. I'm going far out. I'm right here, Madison Square Garden. But someone has to go, mate. You're playing hockey at the Port Adelaide Hockey Club. Like, really, where are you going with your life?
Embrace it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the second quarter, Matty. What do we got?
All right, we're going to talk about the Footy show. Obviously. It's been going for 26, 27 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
It's probably at its lowest of lows right now.
Well, it is at its lowest of lows. 53,000 people in Melbourne watched the last episode, which was the lowest number in the show's history.
Is that it?
53,000 people. And if you think the Footy show used to be an institution, when it started with Eddie Sam, Trevor Marmalade, even before that, like when they had, Lou Richards had a really strong presence.
Yeah.
I think Max Walker was on the Sunday Footy show
He
for a little
was,
bit.
he was, yep, definitely. Let me pose this to you, though. Back when they started, they were the only Footy show.
Yep.
Now we've got a 24-hour Footy channel with a dozen shows. You got Channel 7 doing their own now. Is it just oversaturation?
I think so. And I think we as a society can access, as you said, we can access information wherever we want.
Yeah.
But also, due to social media, I can't stay up. Let's use Footy Classified as an example. I don't mind the show.
Yep.
I can't stay up till 10 o'clock at night just to watch it. So
No.
what I'll do is I'll jump on Twitter.
Yep.
They put every segment on Twitter.
Clips, yeah.
So I have no need to sit on my television and watch it when the information's there.
That's right.
There must be a real issue when it comes to the Footy show, though, because as polarising as he is, people watched for Sam Newman to see what he was going to say and that kind of humour.
Yep.
But society's progressed. We are more politically correct.
Yep. He can't get away with what he was saying.
Exactly. So it doesn't look like they've transitioned enough. I think Nerily Meadows is a good host. I think
Yep.
Lemo's good.
Yep.
Fev, Dylan Alcott. I think it's a good mix. But then you remember before the game, which turned into after the game back on 10?
That was my favourite.
Yeah, and I think the front bar resembles that a
Yep.
bit. It's that kind of humour.
Yeah.
It's that.
That's a Mick Malloy thing, maybe. He was on both.
Yeah, you might be right. And that, for me, was a better show because it was fun, it was different, and the players enjoyed going on it.
Well, that's 2/3. Andy Marr was on before and after the game too.
Yeah.
So maybe Channel 7 have just on the slide adopted that format. And
Perhaps. Well, there was an article that went out this week saying that they might actually cancel the Footy show soon.
Right.
Or put the Sunday Footy show team on the Thursday night.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting, but it's like
I
you should
remember-
always evolve, shouldn't you?
You should. I remember, though, like the highlight of my week when I was younger coming through school playing junior footy was the Footy show on Thursday nights. I'd go to training and then get home. The Footy show would be on at 9:30. I'd sit there. I'd love the intro. The music would come on, be pumped.
I wonder what they'll do for the grand final one. If the show goes for the whole year, that was a big sellout, the grand final Footy show.
Yeah.
And even when they tour and they come to Adelaide.
I don't think they can do it with that lineup anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So is it like they just need to concede and go the front bar wins this and they have to find out?
Potentially.
And the Footy show did so well as well with Channel 9 when they didn't have the rights
Yeah.
for the AFL.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody still tuned into Channel 9
Yeah.
for it.
They couldn't show any clips or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think you're spot on when it comes to the access as well. Well, I need a drink and I think it's half time, which is exciting. So there's a siren. I'm really excited about this halftime, Matty, because if you haven't heard this podcast before, well, where the have you been?
That's right.
We tell a nightclub story because we met each other via nightclubs and we've met some interesting people. So,
Some real interesting people.
what have you got for us, mate?
So this one's on me. For years and years, I used to play at a fine establishment down south known as the Vic.
Yep. I reckon I did a Christmas Eve there once.
You could have, yeah.
Maybe, were you there? Maybe.
I might. Yeah, it seems it's triggering
Yeah.
a memory. But so I used to play there, and my weekly slot was 2 till 4 a.m. every single week.
Yuck.
2 till 4. And let me paint the picture of the fine people that are there between 2 and 4. You can call them alcohol enthusiasts if you want.
Yeah.
Really interesting setups. Anyway, you see a lot of stuff, and this one really takes the cake for me. So it was about 3:45 a.m. So we're nearing closing time, and around that time,
Closing time.
around that time, the duty manager would come up and say, "Can you jump on the mic and call last drinks and just give people the heads up that we're probably going to turn the lights on soon. So if you haven't picked up yet, you're running out of time."
the Russian grab.
Yeah, pretty much. Anything that's got a heartbeat. I see the duty manager walking through the crowd, and at this stage, I'm pretty tired, and I thought, oh, beauty, we're about to wrap up. This is great. There's probably 50, 60 people left in the venue, and she comes up, and I turn my little fold back down so I can hear what she says, and she goes, can you please get on the mic and just ask for Craig Smith and then tell him that his wife's gone into labour? Oh. And I said, hang on, you're taking the piss, yeah? And she goes, no, he's just had a phone call here for him to go home immediately because his wife has gone into labour.
Oh, my God.
His name wasn't Craig Smith, by the way.
Smitty.
Yeah, but I couldn't believe it. I thought, this bloke, his missus is gone into labour and she's about to punch out a kid and he's at the Vic at 3:45 a.m.
And he's going to rock up hammered.
And he's drinking vodka cruises and now he's going to go and witness the birth of his child.
Okay, so the question is, did you announce it on the microphone?
Absolutely I did. Everyone thought I was taking the piss. No one believed me.
Did you find Craig Smith?
No, he didn't come up. So he didn't volunteer himself.
Wow.
Yeah, so I hope that he enjoyed the birth. I hope he remembers it.
Fuck, that's a great story.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the more bizarre things I've ever had to do in a nightclub.
Yeah, and I wonder if they called the baby like Bacardi or something.
Mishka.
This is my son Stolly. Okay. All right.
Maybe that's where Jagger O'Meara got his name from.
All right, let's get back into some sports talk. Another story's come out this week about AFL players doing things that they shouldn't. This all kind of started a couple of years ago when Taylor Walker was on Fox Footy or whoever the broadcaster was at the time. He wasn't really playing consistent footy for the Crows then. I think he was at Norwood then, having a beer at the footy.
That's right.
And now over the weekend, Stephen May, the new recruit for Melbourne, has been spotted having a beer.
Yeah.
We should say that he's injured at the moment.
He is, yeah.
So he's not up
been
for
injured all
selection.
year.
Yep. So he got suspended round one.
Yep.
No, he got suspended in the JLT. So couldn't play round one. Then got injured after he made his debut for Melbourne. What are your thoughts on this whole situation when it comes to players having a beer, living their life, and people having access to taking photos of them living their lives?
I think it's definitely gone too far. We're turning these blokes into robots. There was an interesting interview yesterday morning on SEN with Tim Watson and Gary Lyon. They had Josh Green on, ex-Essendon and Brisbane player.
Yep, he's the blood nut.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And he was saying he loves being out of the system. Loves it. He can eat what he wants. He can do what he wants. He can have a drink with absolutely no scrutiny. And I found that quite staggering. You think, obviously, growing up, if you're trying to play AFL footy and get drafted, it's your dream. But then when you get there, it's you turned into such a robot that you don't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. Funnily enough, it kind of parallels. I listened to an interview with Merrick Watts, who was on Merrick and Rosso, and he was on Triple J on Nova and heaps of radio stations. And he was talking about when he left radio, and he said that you are so used to structure. So when you work in breakfast radio, you're up at 4:30, you know you're going to eat at this time, you know what you're going to do for every day. And he said, coming out of that bubble, you go, wow, okay, I don't have that structure anymore. I can do what I want. When players leave that system, they can go, wait a sec. As much as they don't have to be at the gym at this time, they don't have to eat this at this time. They can do whatever they want. That transition's different. I think those players, and some players just don't like that way. That's why I reckon some players don't make it in the AFL because they're like, oh, I was good at footy, but everything else around it I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah, it's you some players get away with it. Like I feel like Dane Swan was kind of left to his own devices a little bit. One at Brownlow, one, Copeland's and all sorts. Dusty to a certain degree. Obviously, it's hard. You don't know what the club's policies are. So maybe
that's a big one.
Maybe Melbourne had a no alcohol while injured policy.
If they did, that's bad.
Absolutely.
Like, if they did. And it's the same as we were talking about Ken Ilso from Adelaide United. Like, you think that he's, there's potential that he's a scapegoat for so many people within professional sports that get allegedly done for doing whatever he was doing.
Yep.
However, if you are in that environment, then you're going to get caught doing it. So,
Absolutely.
it does come down to the policies and stuff. If the Melbourne Football Club don't have an issue with Stephen May having a beer on the weekend, then who cares?
No one else should.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it's like there's in 2019, and it's been this way for ages, it's the outrage creates more outrage. All you need is someone to be outraged.
Yeah.
Then other people go, wait, if you're outraged,
Then
I'm
I
going to
am.
try and find a way to be outraged,
Yeah.
and then we're going to do it. So
Yeah.
I think I can see that point of view. I can also see this guy he should want to make an impression for Melbourne. And he's probably come from a culture at Gold Coast where there wasn't a lot of structure in place.
And he could probably get away with just popping down Cavill Ave and knocking back a few pots.
Yeah, and he's gone from being one of the best players and captains at Gold Coast to not being one of the best players at Melbourne, so he needs to make an impact and stuff. But I think you're right, and the Josh Green thing the other day was interesting because people come out of the system and they go, wow, I'm glad to get out. And it's kind of like once they go back to country footy and club footy, they go, oh, finally, I've already found AFL players in Adelaide who get delisted and they go back to their Sandford club, like Jimmy Toumpas, for example. They go, wow, I remember what it's like to love footy again.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. And look, that's not going to change because journalists need to get stories and all that other stuff.
There's got to be a respect from the public as well. Like someone that sat there and took a photo of him having a beer.
Yeah, and that's where that argument will come in. People saying, I pay my money as a member. I need to get... We feel like we own these people, which, it's going to be an ongoing argument, just as the one in the last quarter. Okay, so the past couple of days, we've had a look at the warm-up to the Cricket World Cup. And former captain and vice-captain of Australia, Steve Smith and David Warner, there's a photo of them batting at the same time. Well, you know what I mean. It's a different photo.
Yeah, it is a different
yeah, I think we've had a little bit of a chat about these guys before, but now it's a reality.
It's reality, yeah.
How is it sitting with you?
Not great.
Yeah?
I mean, they haven't... Warner went and played IPL.
Yeah, and he played well. I watched one of those games. Like I think it was after a Port game. I sat on the couch and watched it. He played well.
He did play well. But again, it comes back to, I think we spoke about the culture that they have created without him in it and the winning culture and stuff like that. I mean, this is just me. I don't think I could play with someone that, did what he did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I think the culture thing's the big one to think about because I think he also hasn't really owned up to anything yet. So there's been no accountability publicly. If there has been privately, then fine. But publicly, we know how Bancroft feels.
Yep.
We know how Steve Smith feels.
Yep.
We don't know how Warner feels.
No, he kind of just jetted off into the sunset and waited out his 12 months and now he's back.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see what happens when it comes to the World Cup and it comes to the Test series to see how he's received.
I think internationally he'll be... Well, we spoke about booing last week.
You wait for the Ashes. If they go play in the Ashes...
He's going to cop it.
Far out.
I can't wait for the Barmy Army songs about him. Actually,
they are pretty good.
They are funny, yeah. They sort of go along with that whole EPL humour.
Yeah.
Banter.
Yeah. They seem like good people. There's always fights at the cricket though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because of that.
And
booze and mid-strength beer, especially in Adelaide. Yeah. All right, let's get on to time on. Can we have a really quick check-in for... my boys, the Portland Footy Club. Look, on the weekend...
We still don't even know what they are, the Portland...
They're anyway, it was the big showdown on the weekend. I actually was going to go check it out because it was Portland taking on North Haven at North Haven.
Yep.
It's a massive rivalry. I had babysitting duty, so I couldn't get up there. I've been chatting to the club this week, so I'm going to arrange a catch-up.
Yep.
And we've got to do a live episode there. We've got to have a couple of beers and still the search is on to get the Guernsey for both Portland and is it Flinders?
Flinders Uni, yep.
Okay, so how did Portland go on the weekend?
Portland had a win by 24 points.
Of course they did. So the big showdown one. LT, my mate, Lindsay Thomas.
4.
LT.
So he's bagged 5. I don't know what he kicked in the draw, but 5, 8 and 4 that I know of, and I'll chase up the other game for next week.
That is unbelievable.
Could he kick 100? If he's going to kick 100, we're going to go and we're going to run on the field.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah.
And we should do it nude. No, we shouldn't. No, let's not do that.
Let me drop a bit more weight before we do that.
All right. You can hit us up with any questions on the Best Team Men Facebook page. We have our personal socials and stuff as well. Let's do Would You Rather. Matty Burgess, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Would you rather the current MRP system or a straight tribunal system like the old days?
I don't think anyone is ever going to be happy with it, no matter what happens. I like the old system.
Yeah. Because each case was taken on its merits. There was no, categories and it's just too much grey area.
It's too confusing, and they thought they'd simplify it by having one person involved with Michael Christian, but I would go the old school system. Would you rather be Brendan Bolton or Brad Scott? Brendan Bolton, coach of Carlton, Brad Scott of North Melbourne in the AFL, if you're not an AFL fan.
I'd rather be Brad Scott at the moment.
Why?
He's got some runs on the board already. Bolton's been there for, is this his third or fourth season, and they've won 3 games out of 37.
Okay, you're Brad Scott. I'm going to quickly add to that. Would you rather be Brad Scott or John Longmire?
Brad Scott again.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I think Sydney are on the way down.
Yeah, and Longmire has had... Now it's the time where it really shows how good a coach you are when the Cattle's not as good.
Yep.
All right, I like your answers.
Would you rather a permanent Tasmanian team or keep Melbourne teams moving their home games there?
I spent 15 years in Tassie, and I love the idea of a Tasmanian team as long as it's sustainable. I think that business-wise, it may be difficult.
Yep.
Fan-wise, you're going to have...
but surely there's more upside to a permanent Tasmanian team than there is a Gold Coast team.
Yeah, I think a Tasmanian team would be amazing. They love their footy there. Their state league got halved a couple of years ago, and a couple of teams have fallen out. There's been some great Tasmanian footballers, but what they need is if there was going to be a Tasmanian team, they'd need to recruit smart and get players like, for example, get Jack Revolt to go down there, finish his career down
Captain
there,
the
get
club.
Hugh Greenwood down there, like a couple of those boys.
There's a funny story from a good source. Aaron Hall,
Yes.
ex-Gold Coast, now current North Melbourne.
Yep.
When he was deciding, because he's from Tasmania.
Yeah.
So when he was deciding where he wanted to leave the Gold Coast and go to, he looked at which club plays the most games in Tasmania so he could keep going home.
Yeah, I like that.
And he chose North Melbourne.
Yeah, good on him, because
Yeah.
North Melbourne play in Hobart and Hawthorn play in Launceston.
That's right.
St Kilda used to play a couple of games in
St
Tassie
Kilda
as
used
well.
to, yeah.
Okay. Would you rather be Port or the Crows right now?
I'd rather be Port
Continue.
because that's a tough one because the Crows have won the last, 3 now?
Yep.
3 in a row. Port didn't show up on Friday night. Probably.
The Crows have beaten Gold Coast, St Kilda, and Fremantle.
Yeah, it can be misleading, can't it? The
Yep.
last 3.
This weekend is going to be very telling.
This will
because
tell us where they're both at.
Collingwood were incredible on Friday. Port weren't horrible. Collingwood were amazing. And Jordan De Goey is Stevie J.
Yeah, he's a bit of a freak.
He's unbelievable. Jaden Stevenson is a freak.
Yep.
Even Ben Reid looked really good.
He can't. Yeah, look, I was a bit off Ben Reid last year, but he's come back. He looked fit. He looked strong.
Yeah.
The whole forward line looked a lot more mobile with him in it
Yeah.
instead of Mason Cox.
Okay, so...
I'd rather be Port.
And you think they'll win the showdown?
Yes, just.
Okay, well, I'm going to have an Aldi bag and hopefully kick a goal at the end of the game from the goal square again. We will see. Go.
Would you rather Darcy Moore or Joe Danaher at your club?
Right now,
Yep.
Darcy Moore's playing better footy and he's been transformed. Ever since he moved back,
Yep.
he is unbelievable.
Yep. I feel like he's more consistent, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying this as a Collingwood supporter,
No.
but Joe didn't get a kick on the weekend. And
Yeah.
he played really well the week before.
Joe's
Anzac
been in the
Day.
system a while as well now,
has.
and he's had a lot of injuries.
Yep.
But I like the call that they made with Darcy Moore to move him back.
Yep.
He's playing really well, so I'm going with Darcy Moore. Okay, would you rather be a player who's just finishing or just starting their sporting career? Now, let me give you some context while you're having a think about that. So, just finishing your career, dollars are a little bit different, but you've played most of your career without social media and probably that intense spotlight. Just starting your career, obviously, there's a bit of unknown,
Yep.
but you're coming into this environment where there's maybe more dollars, but there's a lot more scrutiny.
I'm gonna have to say finishing my career.
Yep.
Yeah, because I've had a career. When you're starting, there's every chance that you might not end up with one. Yeah.
But I didn't say it was a 1 month career.
No.
So it was a great month. And starting your career would have been a 15-year career.
Right. Okay.
No. That's a good one.
What about you?
I think that finishing feels a lot easier.
Yep.
Starting, there's a lot more opportunities being created now. Through, if you're looking financially through broadcast deals, CBAs, players have a lot more of the power and stuff.
Yep.
But
I reckon there's more opportunity now if you're finishing for jobs outside of sport.
Yeah. I think finishing my career, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, that's been great.
Awesome.
Have you had a great time?
I have had a great time.
Yeah, me too. You can hit us up on Facebook, Best Team Men. We'll continue speaking to the Portland Football Club.
Who wins the showdown this week, in your opinion?
I think Port win just.
Yep.
I reckon they got a bit of a wake-up call on Friday. I think their defence is good. It's going to be interesting because the Crows are starting to click.
Yep.
I don't know. Robbie Gray being out
hurts.
Because Robbie Gray in the last showdown or the showdown before that kicked 5 1/4 or something.
Yeah.
That hurts. And these young kids, they're going to be really shown up now because what the Crows will do is they'll see Rosie, Dersma, Butters, and Willem Drew to an extent, and they'll go for him.
And we haven't had to watch those young fellas bounce back from a defeat like that either.
No, but what a compliment to Connor Rosie, our boy, on Friday night. Hey, can you start in the square with Taylor Adams?
Yeah.
Not bad. And then Taylor Adams looks like he'd been shot in the groin.
And then he tried to come back on.
Yeah, I know. It was good. And we should say as well, the little kid, the Collingwood supporter.
Oh, that was amazing.
That's the good stuff that isn't shown enough when it comes to sport, how much it can change their lives.
Yeah, and it was great to see the Melbourne James Harms as well. Did you see that
was awesome.
Yeah. So
you saw Andrew Cracker in the crowd?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah. So good. I think he was the link between the family and the Collingwood Footy Club.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I mean, the vision of that on the Wednesday, I think it was at training, and they were all getting around him, and it just shows, I think Bucks put it best, it just shows that the players are human.
And they all set perspective after that because you know what, they come off after a loss. And I think you were talking about Taylor. I heard Jeremy Howard talk about Taylor Adams, and he said, he's a bit upset, but you know what, there's more to life than footy.
Yeah. The vision of the of young Corin's dad when they cheered him off.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, man, ninjas in my house cutting up onions. I didn't know where they came from.
No, that was Tears. Right. You didn't have any ninjas in your house. But you do live in a dodgy area, don't you? So there could have been people in your house stealing your onions. All right, well, I'll catch you next week, Matty. Bye.
See you, mate.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.